to all kinds of debates, and we've debated over history on these issues, on numbers of things. Was it right? No, it wasn't right. Not everything we've done in the history is right, but we got to move forward and keep going. And, you know, we can embrace the past and recognize what our wrongs was, but we still have to move forward and make a better day for our children tomorrow.
Thank you, Mr. Norfleet.
Now we will have a question from Mr. Norfleet addressed to Commissioner Glanzer. Commissioner Glanzer, what differentiates yourself from the other candidate on social issues?
I can't speak for the other candidate, so I don't know how we, sorry. I don't know, turn yours off. I don't know where the other candidate stands on social issues, so I can't differentiate myself from him, but I can speak for myself. And, you know, being a city commissioner is not one-dimensional. We have to do public safety and health, but we also have to deal with the other things in our community, like the social issues we talked about, truth and reconciliation, and the opioid epidemic. I differ a little bit on the opioid crisis in that I want to focus on education and awareness. We need to stop our children from taking that first dose. And last year, when the mayor declared that Alachua County was number 2 in the state with opioid abuse, I jumped on the bandwagon, and I'm co-chair of the opioid task force in Alachua County and working with our task force here to educate and raise awareness of our children so they don't ever take that first dose. The addicts that are already out there and using and are part of the epidemic, I don't think we have the resources to deal with that. We will leave that up to the sheriff and, you know, hospitals and doctors. But my focus is on the youth. I want to get into schools. I want to give them materials, resources, how we can help to stop moving forward, having an epidemic forward. Truth and reconciliation is not so much about rehashing the past as it is getting together in the future. I helped organize the get together around Thanksgiving. We had about 300 people break bread together. The African American community and our community met at Lois Fort Park, and we fed over 300 people. And I think there was 12 churches involved, the black churches and our church, the white churches, and it was wonderful. And that's what it's about, just getting together, getting to know each other as a community, not black or white, past or present or future, just getting together and knowing each other. And I think those are the main differences we might have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Norfleet, you have offered to donate your salary to the fire department. While it may seem like a charitable campaign tactic, the public perception is that you are trying to buy the commission seat. The salary is so small, it is puzzling how that amount will help. Are you presuming someone should vote for you because you will work for free? Please explain your purpose.
I'll turn the mic on. Actually, the salary for the fire department is more of a history. I really didn't intend for that to really be publicly known. My wife thought it would be good. She thought, I never really told her don't say anything, but she said it anyway, and there it is. But she has a habit of doing that. But my grandmother, when she was married, she donated her salary. It wasn't a lot. It wasn't near as much as it is now. And I figured I'd just keep the family tradition going. And that's pretty much the reason why I've done that.
Thank you, Mr. Norfleet.
Commissioner Glanzer, what is the most important social issue pressing the city currently?
It may sound like a broken record, but I think the opioid epidemic is the biggest crisis we have. Our kids are dying. We have, it's a cost to our social system. It's a cost to our families. If you don't know someone or have someone in your family that is addicted or has an addictive issue, you're rare because it is so prevalent. You know, I think there's more than one social issue, but that would be the main one I think is pressing upon our community at this time.
Thank you.
Mr. Norfleet, you have repeated many times on the campaign trail that you are running to increase the transparency on the dais. You are running against Commissioner Glanzer, but that statement calls into question the integrity of every commissioner sitting at the dais as well as the mayor. Are you claiming that every elected official in Newberry is hiding something? If so, please give an example where there has been a lack of transparency.
I haven't been saying that there's anything to hide. What I am saying is I would like to continue that openness and make sure that government stays open for the people to have any questions. They can be open, they can ask questions, see what's going on, and there's no favoritism at all of what happens. And Newberry's done an excellent job over the years of that. There's been times that hasn't quite been the case, but you know, that's where I'd like to continue to maintain that, where the city can be transparent in everything they do and everybody knows what's going on.
Thank you.
Commissioner Glanzer, how have you personally improved the social climate here in Newberry?
I think my whole life is focused on improving the quality of life here and social issues. I'm a tireless volunteer in my church. I actually do sermons when my pastor is out of town. I work with the kids. I volunteer in the African American community. I can't think of a year that I've been here that I haven't been involved in something in some way that is meant to help the community. Trying to think of something in particular, but generally my whole life has been volunteering to make my community a better place. Can you repeat that again about?
How have you personally improved the social climate
social
here in
climate?
Newberry?
So, you know, that's it. I mean, volunteering my life. I have helped start the Chamber of Commerce in the 90s, and that has helped with the economic development of our area. It's grown to over 100 members, and it's going strong now. I stepped off the board after 20 years, and young people are taking over, and it's a good thing. But basically, it's just through volunteering, and where there's a need, I try to be there and help.
Thank you.
We'll now have a question that is addressed to both candidates, and we will begin with Joy. How do you think you can, or currently, contribute to increasing diversity in the city government?
That's a good question, because the citizens are the ones that vote on who sit up here, and I really miss my dear friend, Judy Hassan. She ran for office 2 years ago, and she's no longer with us, but there are leaders in the African American community that I encourage and I talk to all the time, and we try to figure out how we can, you know, increase that diversity, because we do need it. I mean, I'm happy to be a woman on the dais now among 4 other men, and that's a little bit of diversity, but we have a long way to go. I think raising awareness that there are people in that community that are interested in helping encourage them to know that they can run, they can serve, and be a part of this dais.
Thank you.
Mr. Norfleet, do you need the question repeated?
No. Diversity is kind of an interesting thing that we seem to have in nowadays, where it seems like we get segmented in all kinds of groups, whether we're the women group or the men group or the black group or the white group or whatever other groups that there are. But why can't we just be Americans, you know, and just pick the person that, you know, that we feel is the most qualified, regardless of who they are and what they are and what they look like. You know, you know, you got people in every kind of diverse group that think differently. You know, there's women that think like me. There's women that don't think like me. There's black people that think like me, and there's black people that don't think like me. So all this that we try to segment people into groups is just, it's crazy. And so far as diversity, far as what the world standard is, probably don't bring diversity to the table, but diversity far as what America was founded on and what it should be, that's what I bring to the table.
Thank you. This next question is for Commissioner Joy. You said your number one issue is the opioid epidemic. The number one group affected by this epidemic is 25 to 45-year-olds. You said law enforcement handles this group. What have you done with Sheriff Darnell?
What have I done about the opioid epidemic with the sheriff? I don't integrate with her on the opioid issue, so I haven't worked with the sheriff. She, you know, we with our contract, they're contracted to cover our area and police here and cover us. But personally, I do not interact with the sheriff regarding the opioid issue. I think she knows what our task force is doing. I think she's aware of that, and hopefully she will help us in when we need speakers, when we need information, and help educate our kids. I think she'll be out here at a call, but that's in the future. We've just started our opioid task force last month, and we even haven't met yet. So hopefully we'll have an opportunity to meet with her and integrate with her in the future.
Thank you. Now we will begin the first crossfire of tonight's debate. I would like to remind each candidate that the crossfire will be 4 minutes long, and the candidate can bring up anything that has been said or broach a new topic. Candidate Norfleet will begin with any questions he has for Commissioner Glanzer. You may now begin. None? Okay, then we will move on.
We will now move on to the section addressing policy. Commissioner Glanzer will be asked the first question. Commissioner Glanzer, what is the most important policy issue at hand here in Newberry?
It's a broad subject. There's a lot of policies that we're working on. Streets and roads. We've just started with the city working on with the county working on a proposal where they will turn over 13 roads to us, but before they do that, they have to chip seal them, and from that point on, we'll be responsible for the maintenance, which to me is a great win because we could not afford for years to pave those 13 roads, so that's going to be a huge win for us. We voted to bring AMI into our city. Next year it launches. It's called the Advanced Metering Infrastructure, and that is it's huge because once this is instituted and launched in our community, each individual will be able to monitor their own electric use. So, and if you want to do your laundry at a peak hour, you're going to pay more money for it than if you do your laundry at, say, 9 o'clock at night. So it's going to be self-monitoring, and we're going to see our levels go down. I compare it to when I bought a hybrid car one year, and it had a little monitor on it, and when you press the gas, your gas mileage, your miles per hour go way down, and when you let up, you use less gas. I hope I'm being clear. And it's the same with your utilities. If you know how much you're spending that hour on power usage, you're going to maybe wait an hour to do that stuff. So it's going to, to me, that's one of the biggest things the city has voted to do is to bring that AMI system to us, and it'll launch summer of 2020, I believe. There's a lot of things we're working on. The utilities, we're working on keeping them at a low rate. We buy our power from FMPA. It's a co-op, and to come up with the rates for our power, we just simply take that rate, add the cost of operations, and that's our rate. We are one of the lowest utility rates in the county, and like I said, it'll even go lower when we have the AMI launched. I have 3 seconds left. I think I'm done. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. Norfleet, many in the community feel that you are running at your brother's insistence in response to a vote Commissioner Glanzer cast, which was said to be detrimental to the financial interests of your family. If you are elected and an item comes before the commission involving your brother, whose interest would you serve? The city or your brother? Explain.
So any vote that come up about my brother because it's family business, I'd have to recuse myself from it. But any of y'all that have ever known me and my brother and my dad's business relationship would probably know that it's hard to get any of us to do anything together sometimes because we're all pretty hard-headed on what we do. And sometimes we have pretty interesting conversations, to say the least. But as far as the interest, our interests are the same as everybody's interest in Newberry. Our family's been involved with development in Newberry, and we've brought a lot of jobs to Newberry, and we provided a lot of houses for people moving to Newberry. My brother, he's building a lot of houses, and I'm putting in some of the roads for that, and I think it's turned out to be an excellent thing that's happened in Newberry, because we've always needed somewhere to stay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Glanzer, what initiatives have you personally got behind and started in order to improve the business climate here in Newberry?
My whole life has been about economic development. So I'm glad you asked that question. Most recently, we just got word this week, actually, that our state legislature had 1,600 proposals before them for funding projects in different cities around the state. And they only picked 19, and one of them was Newberry's wastewater lines going out east, like I mentioned. And, you know, I can't credit myself with that, but I pick up the phone frequently, and I call our state legislatures, and I let them know what we're doing, what we want, what we need. And so we've had a good response. I mean, I was really excited. So we're going to get like $400,000, hopefully. Well, the budget will be solidified in June, but we're slated to get $400,000 towards that project. Being on the Chamber of Commerce, that's an economic development engine for us. So I have worked on that tirelessly, like I said, for over 20 years to make sure that our businesses were all connected with each other. They were networked. Just this past year, we have had so many new businesses, Newberry Hydraulics, Cantrell Construction, Hecker Door. People are coming to Newberry. They're starting to say, wow, there's something going on out there, and I want to be a part of it. And as far as our neighborhoods, we're having an explosion of home building. And the reason is it's so hard to build in the county due to all their regulations. They're looking at Newberry, and we're easy to work with. We want them. We respect them. We work well with them. And so as a result, we have 2 or 3 brand new neighborhoods being developed. So that's going to bring more families out here. More families are going to shop at our stores, our businesses, and do their business here. So I have done everything in my adult life as far as economic development that you can imagine. I mean, that's been my focus. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Norfleet, it is all part of the public record that the former contractor of Champions Park breached his contract with the City of Newberry multiple times, was unresponsive to repeated attempts to bring him into compliance, and, after the city paid $5,000 to pay an auditor, he failed the audit, which, among other deficits, revealed that he was missing $40,000 of public money. He was given multiple opportunities over a 2-year period to come into compliance and never did. The breaches were egregious. They include failing to approve insurance coverage and failing to provide proper records of gate receipts. Given these facts, and assuming you weren't related in any way to the vendor, would you have voted to continue a business relationship with that contractor, or would you have voted to terminate the contract? Please explain why or why not.
Well, for one, I would have had to recuse myself on that vote because I was an investor in that project. And how I become an investor in that project was the city had entered into contract with Nations Park, and Nations Park fell into utter disarray. The park was falling apart. Lou Pasciuti hauled the tail, and city manager at the time was resigning and in transition to turmoil. And so the ballpark was in pretty bad shape. So they approached Mike Spina, the city did, and Mike Spina got us involved, and my brother, and I got drug in along with it somehow or another, but got there. But we had to change out the plywood, the fences was falling down, the park was falling apart, but we hauled in several loads of rock and material to fill in sinkholes where the fields were falling in, and the construction of the fields probably wasn't up to where it should have been, to what the construction docs said they should have been. But Mike Spina took that part, and as a group, we took a part that was failing and an embarrassment to the city, and we brought in tournaments, and we made that part great. Now, as far as the gate money and stuff, the city had their auditors. The audit come back, you can say what you want to, but the gate money always went to the tournaments. So there was no money missing. They always accused it. But if Lou Pasciuti had done what he was supposed to do, we would have never been involved with the park. And how we got into it, we made it great. And it's still a great park, and I hope it'll continue to be for many years.
Thank you, Mr. Norfleet.
Commissioner Glanzer, how does your status as a business owner affect your ability to make policy decisions?
It's a great asset. Because of my years in business, I had not much ramp up when I got elected 2 years ago, so it was really a help. My whole life now in my real estate business is around land use regulations, zoning, planning, ordinances. So my business actually helps me what I do in my business every day. And through the years, employing people, I've had to know how to run a business, physically successfully, and so I think it's helped me a great deal. I know how to run a business. The city is a big business, and the decisions I make are based a lot on the experience I've had in the private sector. So I have to say it's been an asset to me, and I hope to the community. When there's been times when the city is contemplating, land values and that kind of thing, that's my environment. I feel very comfortable in it. And when we're talking about land use changes and regulations, I think I can contribute intelligently in that area because I work with it every day. So I think my business has helped me in that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Norfleet, what are your ideas for funding a capital improvement plan for the resurfacing of our roads?
Resurfacing of the roads is something I kind of know something about. The capital improvement projects, a lot of times the way the county mandates these roads to be resurfaced, by the time they get through paying the engineers an exorbitant rate to do the engineering, and then come up with specifications to get these roads built that make no sense to nobody that's actually constructing the roads. Why don't we look at, instead of trying to figure out capital improvement money, where to get the money from, why don't we look at better ways to build a road, better ways to maximize, maybe value engineer it, where we can, maybe instead of putting a certain type of asphalt down, maybe we put something that actually hold up, something that, say, Watson's got an asphalt plant. I'm sure they know how to build, make asphalt that's in good condition. 12.5 asphalt holds up really good. It holds up better than 9.5. So, there's a bunch of different ways to tackle that. So, just to try to raise more money, sometimes you don't need to raise more money. You just need to use the money that you have wisely.
Thank you.
Commissioner Glanzer, explain your reasoning on the Champions Park contract scoring of 100 for Rad Sports compared to that of 42 scoring for Champions Park. Why did you score Rad Sports so high?
Because he shared 100% of my vision. What happened, and the part of this would be responding to what Mr. Norfleet said, and it was wonderful that family invested in it to bring it up to speed and what it needed to do. But still, we had a contract with the former operator, and talking about transparency, there was none. We had no idea what the gate receipts were. We had no idea what was coming in. And I'm a fiscal, conservative. When I can't find out what the city is owed, we're supposed to get 5% of that take to put towards future purchases of lights and, replacing the carpet and everything. And without knowing that figure, we couldn't make a decision. And it was very frustrating trying to get the reports. We had to pay $5,000 for that audit. And even when the auditor came in, the operator a dozen times said they tried to get in touch with him to get the numbers, and they never could. So there was no choice. I think the termination of that contract was based on the fact that we couldn't get the answers from the operator. So moving forward to the bid process, when I read the Rad Sports bid package, it had 100% of what I had a vision for that park to be. I was involved when it started years ago. When Pursuiti came to town, this town was electric. Everybody was so excited. Oh my God, Cooperstown is coming to Newberry. How could that happen? So we were all on board with it, and we were disappointed when it didn't start off the way it should have. And the operator came in, and he did a good job starting it. But still, just running a park, there's more to it than just having ball games. You have to account for what you're doing. You have to be a good businessman. And so, unfortunately, we didn't have that experience with that operator, so we had to move forward. But now the current operator, I'm pleased, I just got the report. This January and February, they had the highest receipts in the history of the park. He's done more business dollar-wise since it started. They put more than $1 million into the local economy as an financial impact, and the hotels have seen $300,000 or more in bed nights. So my time's up. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Norfleet, your name was mentioned in her response. Would you like a 1-minute rebuttal?
Yeah, they did have an audit, and the audit was here, and they went through it, and the city spent a lot of money on the audit. But, you know, the new operators of the ballpark has got a great facility that we helped put together to get that thing back operational, and I hope him the best success. And like Miss Joy said, she was involved with the park from the very beginning when Pashuti come, and you know, he didn't quite live up to what he promised the city of Newberry, but he did walk away with a lot of money. And that ballpark's been a black eye on Newberry for a long time, and hopefully we can move past that, and the park will be successful, generate a lot of business, bring a lot of teams to the area, generate money for the hotels, and I hope that all is success.
Thank you.
Mr. Norfleet, your family has a lot of business dealings in the city of Newberry that could cause many conflicts. How will you navigate those conflicts, and how do you think it will impact your ability to be an effective commissioner?
We do have a lot of business dealings in Newberry, but most of the business dealings that we have is cows. You know, if somebody wants to try to pass something where cows can't pass gas, you know, I don't know if I can. That'd be hard for me to recuse myself of that. But any of the business dealings, as far as the town center or any of the other issues, I'd recuse myself on those dealings that comes in front of the commission. I mean, that would be the only honorable thing to do. But as far as most of the stuff we do is on the farm, and I don't really see any of that coming up in front of the commission. I hope not, anyway.
Thank you.
Now we have a question addressed to both candidates, but we'll start with Joy. Do you support working towards our own police department or staying contracted with sheriff for enhanced services?
Right now, because we exited the MSTU 2 years ago, our contract with the sheriff is about $900,000. If we had not done that negotiation, we'd be paying about $1.3 million. So in the last 2 years, we've saved approximately $800,000 by contracting with the sheriff as we did. The estimate is right now, if you start your own police department, we would have to spend about $1.5 million. And after that, it would probably cost an estimated $1.4 to run it. So right now, we're not there. I mean, we're only paying $900,000 a year, but the sheriff's contract's going to go up every year. So when those numbers start getting even, I think then we can look at it. Right now, it's not the time. We're getting a good deal. We're getting good coverage. $900,000 versus 1.3 is a lot of money. So I'm not willing to spend extra money right now to have our own police department, although I think in the future it will happen. It'll just be a matter of time is when those two numbers get closer together, what we're paying on the contract versus what it would cost to have our own police department. So, thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Norfleet, would you like the question repeated?
Sure.
Do you support working towards your own police department or staying contracted with the sheriff for enhanced services?
Well, you know, on the sheriff's department, I've listened to that for several years, and when them numbers come out, whenever Sadie comes in front of the commission and throws a number out, you know, I don't think we should be opposed to any option that's placed on the table. Whether we look at starting our own police department, I think there's, you know, in the past we've had our own trash pickup, we've had our own cable TV, so I think as Newberry, there's no way that we're scared to do anything. And but some of the things that's been brought up before is working with our neighbor High Springs. I think as a property taxpayer, I think all of us pay property taxes in Alachua County. We're paying for a certain amount of sheriff coverage anyway. So let them maybe do their part and figure out how much of that sheriff coverage they're going to provide, and then go from there and see if that's where we need to be at or not. But no options off the table.
Thank you.
The following question is directed towards Commissioner Glanzer. Commissioner Glanzer, have you ever recused yourself from a questionable vote where you had real estate interests?
Yes, I did one time in the last 2 years. It was for the Newberry Corners plat approval, and I'm the broker for that subdivision, so I had to recuse myself. But that's the only instance I've had in 2 years. Thanks.
Thank you. It is now time for our second crossfire. Commissioner Glanzer will begin with questions for Mr. Norfleet. You may now begin.
I don't want to beat a dead horse, but we had talked about the fact that we had the audit, and we spent money on the audit. But the operator at the time did fail that audit. They could not find out anything. They had to estimate the amount of money that he was bringing in order to find out what he was supposed to pay Newberry. But that number could not be verified. There was no way the audit could be completed because the operator would not answer their phone calls or emails or text messages. So I just want to make that clear. I didn't make the decision based on the fact that, he ran a good park or not. It was the fact that we couldn't get the numbers. We couldn't get any numbers on what he was running, and then he even wouldn't provide proof of insurance, which put the city at risk. So, we just had to really look at all those things. I have no personal issue with anybody in this scenario, but I just wanted to make clear we had to make a decision based on what we were seeing. So that's my crossfire.
Well, I wasn't the operator, and the operator, I guess, was Mike Spina, and maybe he's not good at paperwork, maybe he is, I don't know. But as an investor, I don't handle the day-to-day operations of what goes on with the ballpark. Whenever he needed something from us, we was more than happy to send it out there, whether it be sod, dirt, filling in a sinkhole, because the city was unresponsive on helping him repair the park, and he spent a lot of time working on that park and putting it back together, replacing the chain link fence, putting up shade cloths, because they had little dugouts for the parents to sit in to watch the games. It was hot out there. So open that up so you can get air in, and then fixing the sod and the sprinkler systems. There's fire hydrants out there that have been non-operational for a long time. I don't know if they're up and running now or not, but that's kind of a fire safety hazard for the kids and everybody that's out there. And I don't know if that was supposed to have been put in when the park was built. I don't know if it was supposed to come in later on. There's a lot of sketchy details of what happened with the construction. All I know is that park had to be brought back up to a standard that was worthy of playing games on those fields. And we done that, and we got that park back up. We invested a lot of our own money into that park to bring it back up so Newberry wouldn't be suffering from that black eye that it had for a period of time.
Thank you.
We will conclude this debate with a section based on economy. A question from Commissioner Glanzer addressed to Mr. Norfleet. Mr. Norfleet, home rule policy is constantly under attack at state level as well as the county level. What specific strategies do you have to protect the integrity of Newberry's home rule, and how will you implement them?
Home rule is one of those things that I think is very important to a city to protect ourselves from a hostile county that we have right now. I think the commission of the county, for the most part, is pretty good, but we have some commissioners on there, 2 of them, that are really could care less about Newberry and what we do and what we stand for. So that home rule gets challenged on a daily basis by our county commission and even at a state level. And the only way that you're going to fight that home rule without dragging lawyers in, don't get me started on lawyers, but the only way to get started to fight that home rule is to talk to those people and try to negotiate every angle that you can with them to make sure that at a state level they're protecting us, and at a county level they protect our home rule, that we don't have any intrusion or overriding of their rulings on us.
Thank you.
Commissioner Glanzer, what have you done for the business community here in Newberry?
I may be repeating myself, but my whole adult life I've been working with the business community. Helping to start the Chamber of Commerce was kind of a big deal. Through the Chamber, we've helped, educate our businesses on what's out there, to network with our community. That's probably been the biggest contribution I've made. I've seen young leaders in businesses come into the Chamber and be groomed and grow up and grow into their ability to help with economic development and growth in a responsible way. being on the Economic Development Committee, too, for 10 years was huge. That's where the incubator was for this Ag Tech Innovation program. We had stakeholders, those people that own land all along the corridor to Jonesville. We had them pay money to an engineer so we could find out what would go on that road, what makes sense, and how would that look. And that's how the whole Ag Tech Innovation Park came to fruition. They came up with this idea that, we want agriculture and that kind of business to be in this community, and we had the land to do it with, and we had the interest of the landholders. So through my involvement with the Economic Development Committee, we now are seeing this Ag Tech Innovation Park come to fruition. So some things take a long time. I mean, it's been 20 years that I've been working with that Economic Development Committee, and now we're just now seeing this. So it doesn't happen overnight, but you have to keep working on it and working on it and working on it and not giving up and keep saying the same thing over and over, and eventually people hear it. And sitting on this dais has really helped because I can make decisions based on my desire to see economic development blossom in this community, bringing jobs, which is the end result.
Thank you, Commissioner Glanzer.
Mr. Norfleet, during the past few years, among other things, the current commission has lowered taxes, increased services, built a working relationship with the county, brought in an additional $150,000 a year, new road maintenance revenue from the county, an increase. I'm going to start over. Mr. Norfleet, during the past few years, among other things, the current commission has lowered taxes, increased services, built a working relationship with the county, brought in an additional $150,000 a year in new road maintenance revenue from the county, increased essential services, such as bringing an ambulance to Newberry, helped create a new home for youth ag fairs, created a conceptual site plan for an ag tech innovation park, and built bridges of friendship to the most fragile and vulnerable in our community. How will you contribute to add to this list of accomplishments, and do you have any particular projects you want to see happen? Please describe them.
That's a pretty extensive list you got there. That, there's a lot of things that we can do. Our main focus as a city should be on the utilities, our roadways, and if we don't provide the infrastructure for our people to get around on and have the water that they need for their houses and the sewer system for growth and all those utilities that are needed, our roads, the boundaries of the city of Newberry has grown quite a bit, and it's kind of scattered all over the place now. And there's a lot of roads that need some improvements. The chip and seal that the county's done, that's a really good thing that they've done, and the city could work and help them out. We have to maintain those roads. Maybe instead of leaving it as a chip and seal, maybe we just put a small layer of asphalt on it to help protect that chip and seal at a minimum cost. And maybe instead of hiring an engineer, we do a design build type project. There's a lot of other things like the utilities going east. We need to pick out engineering that can really help get that way and not spend a lot of money on engineering. And a lot of times engineering uses up all the money that we have to construct stuff. So we have a fine public works department that can do some of the construction and save the city money, and they have some of the best equipment around. And I think we could work that direction in.
Thank you.
Commissioner Glanzer, in terms of economic development, how have you worked to improve the business climate in order to make Newberry more attractive to businesses looking to consider relocating here?
Probably in my business, I've worked a lot with economic development. I work with investors a lot who want to find a place to build a new business and industry, and so I show them all the places and all the good things that are up and coming in Newberry. So in that respect, I think in my business, I'm most able to help, economic development. Up here, again, as a commissioner, I get to vote every month on issues that are going to help our growth and development, and most of it's with our utilities infrastructure. I mean, I have to say, once we put that sewer line out east towards Jonesville, it's like watering a plant. When you have your water and sewer going, wherever it goes, that's where the growth is going to go. So my focus has been to make sure that that continues to be a focus of our commission, and again, hounding our legislators to keep in mind that we need that it's going to help bring jobs to our community if we can bring those businesses. The Ag Tech Innovation Park, I'm a huge proponent of it. I think it fits so nicely with our community as a farm community, and we're so close to Gainesville with the University of Florida, so it's a beautiful marriage of the two. They're helping us to find farming businesses that want to come out here, and I think it makes a good combination. So those are the things I've done, and I want to continue to do it.
Thank you.
Mr. Norfleet, you have expressed a desire to lower utility rates if you are elected. That's an easy campaign promise, but the city of Newberry incurs costs to provide these services. Water and sewer are already just barely out of the red. Solid waste rates for commercial properties are lowest in the county, and residential rates are next to the lowest. Electric rates are in the middle of the pack. How do you propose to lower these costs without endangering the city's financial well-being?
Well, I don't think Newberry needs to be comparing utility rates with GRU and some of the other cities in Alachua County. I think GRU is kind of high on their utility rates. Newberry's utility rates, there might not be a way that you can lower it. But looking at my house, our electric bill, including water and sewer, is not near as much as a resident in the city of Newberry. And we run irrigation, we run water pipes. The developers pay for all the infrastructure that goes into the ground. The city doesn't have a whole lot of cost into that, and there's ways that they can lower it. Maybe there's not a lot of room, but there's a lot of room. Everybody's always got room to cut and make trimming and make it work.
Thank you.
Commissioner Glanzer, what do you think are the biggest negative factors affecting economic development here in Newberry?
I don't like to focus on the negative. Actually, our attitude here for economic development is completely positive. I have had nothing but positive comments from our citizens, from our staff, and it's just a great environment right now to do business. We can help getting more businesses by creating more infrastructure, as I mentioned earlier, but I feel that it's a very positive environment for growth and development. I have to say, compared to our other cities around here, people will not build in the county. The regulations are so stringent. I was just talking to someone today who was a developer, and he said they can't hardly build anything in the county because of the regulations. Newberry is very open. We're very willing to work with new businesses and industries that come to town. Our regulations are very friendly to builders, and so we're going to see more of that. That's why you see all these subdivisions proliferating, because we are a friendly community. So I can't, maybe there are some negative aspects to our economic development, but I can't tell you any. I see positive things. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Glanzer.
The following questions are addressed to both candidates. Mr. Norfleet, do you have any potential financial conflicts?
The only potential financial conflict I have is if I'm putting in a road in Newberry, maybe. That's about it. And any other farming-related activities that we do.
Thank you.
Any conflicts financially?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm like Mr. Norfleet. I'd have to recuse myself if I was going to have to vote on any subdivisions or projects that I'm involved in that I'll make money on. That would be the only conflicts I've had. And so far in 2 years, I've only had one that I've had to not vote on. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
This question is also addressed to both candidates. Mr. Norfleet, do you or does any family member have financial ties or dealings with any other commissioner? If so, how will you avoid cronyism?
I don't have any financial ties to any commissioner. What family does, I mean, there's a lot of people in Newberry that's kin. So, so to say if I got some distant kin or something, that's, heck, I don't know. But I couldn't answer that.
Commissioner Glanzer, do you or does any family member have financial ties or dealings with any other commissioner? If so, how will you avoid cronyism?
I have not done any business with any commissioner. I'm trying to think. I haven't sold any land or anything like that. So no, I don't have a conflict.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And this final question is also addressed to both candidates. Mr. Norfleet, why is ag important to Newberry?
Why ain't ag important to everybody? I mean, that's where our food comes from. That's our base economy. That's where it all starts from. If the land can grow it and produce it, and that's prosperity for everybody. That's the core function of our country. Agricultural is right there with national security. We got to have a defense. I don't know how to tell you how agriculture is more important than that. If you don't have something to eat, you probably ain't gonna make it very long.
Commissioner Glanzer.
It's hugely important. I mean, it's our roots. When I first came here, I can remember people saying, we've been an agricultural community, we always want to be that, and we always will. And that's why I'm so excited about the recent, events of bringing the the Alachua County Fairgrounds to Newberry. Who could ever dream that? I mean, even a year ago, it's crazy. So we have that, and we have this Ag Tech Innovation Park. That will create an engine for our farmers around here to be able to continue to stay here, and a place to, they're going to have jobs in agriculture. So I think our whole focus for economic development has been in ag, and that's a wonderful thing because that's where the community wants to stay. And I'm very much a proponent of it, and like Mr. Norfleet said, without food, we aren't going to be here very long. So I'm very excited about all the ag tech or agricultural projects we have going on, and I will support them and continue to do that.
Thank you. Our third and final crossfire will begin with candidate Norfleet addressing questions to Commissioner Glanzer. You have 4 minutes. You may begin.
I have none.
I have one now. I didn't write it down. Now I don't. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you.
We will now end this debate with closing statements, beginning with Mr. Norfleet.
Like I said before, the main thing that I'm running for is I want to see Newberry, I want to see it function as a family. This community has been great over the years. From the time when I was a little boy growing up, walking down Main Street, I had a good time walking down through the Watermelon Festival and all the watermelon trucks lined up on 41. The things that make Newberry great is just too many to list, and I just want to see that happen again, and see it continue to go and be a strong, vibrant community. We're going to grow. Apparently, we're growing pretty good and growing fast. If DOT brings in 4-lane roads down through Newberry, how can we help to advise DOT to help that fit into Newberry and for Newberry to work around that? There's a lot of issues that can come up with that. With the road building background that I have and the backgrounds that I have, I can bring a lot of common sense ways to put that together, to tackle that. Knowing how engineers work, knowing how infrastructure works. There's so much background that I have from working at the University of Florida, the city of Gainesville, Alachua County, and other places around here. Worked with the city of Newberry staff on road department and stuff, and they're a great bunch of guys to work with. And I can continue to build those relationships with them and with the county staff and the state staff that we know to help bring in more economic money for the city to improve those infrastructures.
Thank you, Mr. Norfleet.
Commissioner Glanzer, your closing statement.
Again, I just want to say the last 2 years have been the most rewarding of all the time I've lived in Newberry. It's just been a wonderful time working with the staff, with the citizens, with my fellow commissioners, and I'm grateful for that opportunity. I'm honored. And I thank you all who have come tonight and asked the hard questions and all the support you've given me over the last 2 years. I just also want to say, please don't hesitate if you have any questions. I'm going to stay late after the debate. You can call me, find me on Facebook, and also on Saturday, there's going to be a meet and greet at the Woodyard Grill at 10:30 a.m. till noon. I hope you'll come and have some good food, and we'll talk some more. I'm always willing to visit with you and answer any questions you have. I see so many familiar faces out here, my dear friends and family and old friends and new friends, and I just love Newberry. There's nothing I can say more than that. This is my heart, and this is where I've raised my family and my grandchildren, and I thank you for the opportunity to serve.
Thank you. This concludes our program. We would like to remind you that both candidates have agreed to stay after the debate to answer any questions you may have. Thank you, candidates, and thank you all for attending. We urge you to take the next step and vote to demonstrate that democracy is alive and well in the city of Newberry. The student government of NHS looks forward to this event every year, and it is because we believe so deeply in the power of the vote. Please vote on Tuesday, April 9th. The polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and voting takes place in the municipal building. Please drive safe and have a wonderful night.
Thank you, Paul.